All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Radio. This is episode 229. My guest tonight is supposed to be Les Velez. Now, Les is not here. I don't know where he is. So we'll see. We'll wait. We'll give him a few minutes. I already gave him a few. But we'll give him a little bit longer. I was hoping he would be here a little early so we could do like a mic and, camera check, which is the norm usually when we have these shows, but he is not here. I still would like to have this discussion though tonight with you guys. So if he doesn't show up by 9:15, we'll give him about 5 to 6 more minutes. Then I'll throw the link in the chat for you guys. I was looking forward to having this conversation, though, with him tonight, especially because there's been a couple developments in UFO, UAP news as of late. A few different things have come out. Les was supposed to be on the show, let me see, I'm looking at the calendar here, Saturday the 17th, and I had to cancel at that point because stuff had come up. And so we rescheduled for tonight. But at that point in time, I don't know if you guys can remember, there was something going on with people spotting some kind of something. It was a UFO, whatever it was. I didn't follow up on it since, but it was making the rounds with a lot of news on social media and whatnot. Strange lights, stuff that looked like a classic UFO. It's hard to tell, though, nowadays, because there's so much manipulation of video and everything else that goes on now. So it's something I wanted to ask him about, see if he followed up on any of that. But if he's not here, I can't ask him. Now, while we wait, and hopefully he does arrive, let me say hello to you guys. We got Ara here. What's up, Ara? Hope you're doing good. Spicer McLeroy in the house says, what kind of pants do ghosts wear? Just a paranormal pants. Hope you're doing good, Spicer. What Geeks Do Network says, I'm ready. Love this stuff. Shrek is here, too. How's it going, Shrek? Hope you're doing good. We got Comics for Life in the chat, too. How's it going? We got Cole King here, too. How's it going, Cole? Good to see you. Kier's here, too. What's up, Kier? Hope you're doing good, buddy. We got Blake Powell here as well. What's up, Blake? Good to see you, Rachel. Thank you for being here tonight. We got Wayne here, too, in the chat. What's up, Wayne? Alpha Red Comic is here. That's James. What's up, James? How's it going, man? James, did you get the package of the blank variant bundles that were sent your way? You had ordered them. I don't want people to think that I just sent them to you. Did you get those? Did they arrive? You should have got like a stack of them. I'm very curious to see what you do on those, especially on the King Cryptid one. I really, I dig your work on those sketch covers. I'm very curious to see what you'll do. Citizen Ronan, what's up, Citizen Ronan? Thank you for being here tonight. Citizen Ronan says, I just watched Aliens. I'm ready. Well, let's hope that the aliens that we interact with are friendlier. Now, there's a whole thing about the different extraterrestrial life forms. Extraterrestrial, interdimensional, not of this earth. And that there's some that are friendly, there's some that are not so friendly, there's some that are outright pretty nasty. What's your take on it? I think, obviously there'd be all kinds of life. And I have no idea what they would be like in terms of their motivations, their morality, It's kind of interesting when people prescribe like a human morality to alien life forms, because that would be like saying that you can prescribe that upon like an ant or some other kind of life form that's relatively difficult to understand. You can observe, you can kind of notice certain things, but you really can't grasp exactly what they're doing. Like, even when I see the bee outside busy and doing their thing, are they sitting there having bee thoughts about, gotta do this, I gotta get that, I gotta do these things today? Or is something else going on entirely? Truth is, I don't think we'll ever really know. We can observe and see and whatnot and, kind of come up with our best guesses. We can see what the result is of these beings that do the things they do. And that's just on Earth, let alone hypothesizing things that are not of this planet, that we have almost no true way of observing. So there's an interesting moral quandary there, I think, with human beings and how we do that to stuff, whether it's animals, whether it's aliens. Our imagination maybe gets the better of us. We got Rachel here, says starting a fan art piece of Wonder Woman versus Medusa in a sword fight. Oh, that's interesting. Does Medusa... Now, do you mean Medusa of Marvel Comics fame, or do you mean Medusa of mythology? Don't know if you're doing like a crossover universe thing, which is what we kind of have going on at Alterna Comics right now with Blood Moon. We're at 42% funded on that. We're knocking on the door of 8,000 on that campaign. The goal is 18,000. There's about 22 days left at this point. And we're, I believe, like 300 and change away from the $8,000 mark. Thank you guys so much for your support on that. I think we're very close to 110 backers on that campaign. So thank you guys. What Geeks Do says they might be interdimensional or just from land we aren't told about. Hence the word extraterrestrial or extra-terrain. Citizen Ronan says in the animal kingdom, the strongest will dominate the weaker. I can't see anything that can get here from out there wouldn't dominate us. Well, that's the thing too, because it's difficult to say if they're so much more advanced than us. Would they be more inclined to be benevolent? Would they be helpful and friendly? Because the only way they could have come that far is through cooperation. Competition, eventually, you'd look at wiping each other out completely and other life forms, and you grow more and more enemies as you do so, whether locally or galactically or planetarily, whatever. But if you were to have a space race evolve, let's say they're a million years more advanced than us. Sure, they could be warlike, but does it mean that they are just out completely to dominate, control, obliterate? Are they a little smarter than that, where maybe they do want something from us, whether it's the resources of the planet or what have you, but could they also be entirely, completely kind and benevolent and want to help advance us? Now, I think all those possibilities exist. I think that there's a strong possibility that we probably had all kinds of these life forms on this planet at one point in our planetary history or another. It's certainly interesting how quickly the human race has evolved in some aspects that don't really seem to make as much sense whatsoever, or any sense at all, compared to other life forms on the planet. So you can call that divine intervention, you can call that alien intervention, a higher life form. No matter what it is, there is some kind of higher, more intelligent being doing something to push us along, or even flat out create us. And you could still have some people go, that kind of would fly in the face of, so if you're inclined to be religious or spiritual, or, that would fly in the face of that. And I don't think that necessarily does, because some kind of force would have to be behind the creation of everything. Like, you can keep going, well, why this, why that, and how'd that come about? I keep asking the question over and over again. Okay, so an advanced race, aliens or whatever, came and did something to us or our ancestors, And, it created us. Well, who created them? And you can go on and on and on. So these are questions that I don't think that we're ever truly going to have the definitive answer to. I mean, and that's the entire reason why stuff like that is called faith. But I think we can be kind of certain, at the very least, that there's something at the helm of it, or many things at the helm of it. But it does make it interesting to ponder it, to talk about it, to discuss it. Now, unfortunately, in some ways, it can kind of get hot and heavy when that kind of topic comes up. But for the sake of keeping it to aliens, UFO, UAP, that kind of stuff, I like to think more about, yes, these things exist. It's very difficult to say that nothing at all has possibly visited here. But it's also like, why? Why are they here? And there's obviously people that know that they're here. There's obviously many people throughout the history of the planet that have interacted with these things, worked with these things. Maybe, if you believe in all kinds of writings, texts, even biblical references, there's people who have mated with these things, who have formed hybridization with these things. So it's kind of interesting, because it's a topic that I think a lot of people kind of look at it through a modern lens, but it's been going on for a long time. And if anything, there's so many stories about it. There's so much steeped in the culture of various regions of the world, and it's very similar stories. And there's stories that if you put like a little bit of perspective on it, I think it starts to get kind of even more interesting, where you start going like, well, do they really mean this? Do they really mean that? Because what they're describing kind of sounds like what we would call this today. So let's presume that people have been in the know. There's people in the know, people in contact with these things for quite some time. I mean, there's Paul Hellyer, who was up in Canada working in the Defense Department there. He was talking about that there's, dozens of these races. Dozens of beings. Now, you could say, okay, this is like to throw people a distraction, get people off the scent of stuff. Sure, I think sometimes that it's used like that. I mean, they do anything and everything sometime to come up with a distraction if they need to. But it doesn't do anyone favors in the long run to kind of keep dangling the carrot of the UFO, UAP, alien, extraterrestrial threat / help, the friend and the enemy towards humanity. And it's odd when government officials, because there's been a bunch of them, come out over the years and pretty much flat out say, yeah, we talk to these things, and these things, sometimes they help us. And sometimes, we don't necessarily even know why they're helping us, and we can't really trust, are their intentions good? Or because if anything's that powerful, it's tough to say that, you could just go in there completely blind into it and say, yes, they're good. They're good intentions. Because it really seems like, well, okay, that I can see that, but at the same time, if they are good intentions, why the secrecy among our own kind? Why the cover-ups? And they have to be cover-ups because a lot of these stories make absolutely no sense when they try to give explanations. All right, so I'm trying to get in touch here with less, and that's not happening. I got the person who booked him on the show asking now for my cell phone. It's like I'm live. Oh boy, you gotta figure it out. You gotta talk to him. You gotta talk to him. All right, let's see what you guys are doing in the chat. I'm gonna put the link in here if you guys want to join the show. There's the link if you want to talk about some of this stuff. I just want to say I'm open to anything and everything when it comes to this. You know, I think it's possible. I think all of this stuff is possible. I think all of this stuff is going on in some way, shape, or form. I think there's mountains of evidence to show that it is. And there's, at the very least, if you don't want to call it evidence, there's unbelievable coincidences. Too many. All right, let's see here. We got Kier says, do King Cryptid versus Medusa fan art. Again, do you mean Medusa Marvel or Medusa mythology, Kier? Which one? Mythology could be cool. Mythological Medusa up against King Cryptid. How'd he handle that? What Geeks Do Network says, if advanced, most likely peaceful. That's what some people think, you know? It's tough, again, you know, we're all we have, and it's very difficult for us because it's difficult to see past our own humanity at times, right? But all we have is that viewpoint. So all we have is that viewpoint that, okay, well, if human beings would they be, you know, but then you look at it and go, okay, well, we're really advanced right now compared to the way we were, you know, let's say even 500 years ago. Now, 500 years ago, yeah, times were, you know, kind of rough. They were pretty brutal. But then we're also kind of brutal right now, too. We're better in some ways. We're kind of the same in others. And we still have the capacity for unbelievable good and unbelievable evil. And then it's good and evil, of course, it's a morality context, you know? So what could be good to one might be evil to the other, and vice versa. If, you know, we've got scientists on this planet that do horrendous things to living creatures in the name of good. But if you were to isolate it, you'd look at the instance of what they're doing and go, that's horrible. That's evil. But apparently it's for good. So if you were talking about, you know, extraterrestrials, let's say they, like the big thing, especially in the 90s, was probing. Big thing in the 90s was probing. Aliens probing. Probing everything. You know, and that's viewed as like, okay, well, that's bad. Yeah, who's getting probed? That's horrible. But for the alien, is that a moral event? Or are they just doing research? Who the hell knows? And is that happening? Because then there's other theories that that's not really alien life forms that we're doing probing. That it's like a whole smokescreen thing, that it's a whole psychological, crazy, weird, deep, not even government, but like deep level stuff outside of government regulations. These are not government departments. Kind of like Necro in King Cryptid. Like the New England Cryptid Research Organization is not, it's not a government organization. It's outside of that. But it appears to be within it. Citizen Ronan says, I think that's why the alien/parasite idea is intriguing. There's no intelligence involved. The motivation is just to dominate and continue the species. That's incredibly frightening. Yeah. I mean, if we were to just say that, okay, let's take every instance of humanity, every instance of creatures that we know on this earth, because there are creatures on this earth that look like they are aliens. That they're, how the heck is this like an earthling? When you think about it, you know, everything on this planet is an earthling. Everything that originates anyway from this planet is an Earthling. Whether or not any of us originate technically from this planet is up for debate. But if it's on this planet, it's obviously not at this point in time existing on another planet. Give me that for right now. But there's things that look completely like they'd be alien life forms. They're certainly not human looking. You know, I think that's a tendency too that we have when we talk about the alien conversation, is we think about everything in regards to humanoid. You know, that it all just looks like us in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's some kind of reptilian, it's got 2 arms, 2 legs. Even if it's some kind of, the gray aliens or whatever, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, these things could look like anything. We have that on this planet. And that's another curious thing, though, is that, well, okay, we've given a lot of life forms on this planet a lot of time to get to the point of evolution of thought, speech, all that kind of stuff, culture. And while there's been communication, there's species that have communication, obviously, and there's species that even you can say what they do is more advanced than what other life forms are doing. There's still no species really that's approaching the level of culture, communication, etc. as human beings. And that's kind of curious. So that's what makes me think, like, well, what is going on? Because we can't, it's odd that we are really the only living thing on this planet that does the things we do. There are other living things on this planet that they share way more in common than we share with them. Just in terms of how they look, how they act, how they behave, what they're like biologically. So it's interesting. We got AL here. How's it going, AL? Hope you're doing good. Yeah, I heard about that. It says, my apartment had a fire, lost all my alternate comics. Man, AL, I hope you're hanging in there. Hope you're doing okay. We got Alpha Red here. It says, I did get the bundle of sketch covers. Excited to dive in. I'm preparing for my crowdfunder for Alpha Red number 6. So I'm focusing on some exclusive incentives. Looking forward to drawing King Cryptid. Thank you, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you draw King Cryptid. What Geeks Do says, lots of accounts supposedly of the reptilians or draconians. I bet they are freaky looking to us. They'd have to be. They would have to be. And AL, I hope everything's okay in terms of all the other stuff that was in the apartment. I hope it was kind of like a small, localized fire. I'm guessing since you're here in the chat that you're not like displaced. But if you are, I'm sure I can say this for everybody. My heart goes out to you, and I hope things get resolved quickly. We got Rachel here, says most often evidence has also been suppressed. Yeah, and that kind of goes for anything and everything. It seems like until it goes through all the appropriate channels, takes sometimes generations. Because that's the thing with this stuff. Sometimes people have to die out. Sometimes the gatekeepers need to move on and pass in order for certain things to become known. And even then, it's still a bit shaky. Comics for Life says, it seems there are different types if you follow the countless stories out there. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in terms of, at least, like you said, the accounts, the stories, that kind of stuff. Let's see. Oh, I just got word. Okay, so, Les has been sick and totally forgot about the interview. He apologized over and over, and he's sorry. He promised you the name, the time, and place, and he will be there. All right, good. So we can reschedule. Hopefully, third time's a charm. Mercury retrograde ended yesterday. But there's always, I notice there's always a little bit before and a little bit after Mercury retrograde. There's always miscommunications, weirdness, because it has to do with, if you believe any of this stuff, which it's sometimes is kind of hard to argue, because I notice it ramps up. It's like the full moon, there's certain things kind of ramp up during these cosmic events, and it's supposed to interfere so much with like communication, Mercury being the messenger, and everything nowadays is communication, everything. And you could talk about even communication within yourself, within other, with others, whatever it might be, and talk about if if anything was to happen with Mercury retrograde, talk about that being it. Less if you're out there, if you're watching, either way, get well, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. It'll be a good one. Okay, let's see here. AL says, no, the apartment is unlivable. I'm at my sister's. All my comics, manga, and Pikachu collection is gone, but it's stuff. I'm grateful no one was hurt. Ooh, that's horrible. That's horrible. I'm so sorry, AL. Oh my lord. I am so sorry. I hope everything gets sorted out as quickly as possible in regards to all that. I'm very, very sorry. Let's see here. Okay, so we got a couple people waiting in the back here. We'll do we'll go for about an hour, so we'll go for about another half hour or so. And let's see, we got first up Rachel. What's up, Rachel? Oh no, right. Okay, you're freezing a little bit.
Yeah, my connection isn't the greatest, so I'll try to do my best.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Like the UFO stuff, like to me is like kind of like kind of biased in like religion, like certain elements they'll want to keep and others, they want to like kind of discredit and stuff, so it doesn't like hit their dogmas, At least that's how
I'm sorry, Rachel. It's really difficult for me to hear what you're saying. Do you have a microphone?
I do.
Oh, there it is. Fantastic.
Sorry, I didn't have it plugged in all the way.
So what was that? What did you say?
Oh, I was thinking about like how like a lot of the UFO stuff is kind of like, to me, like filtered by like religious dogma.
Oh yeah, like how people think
to show up in it.
Yeah, people think that they're demonic, that it's not actually aliens or beings or whatever, but it's demonic entities.
Yeah, so too much of it is like human perceptions that's like clouds it. It's only those who are like transcend beyond like religion, going to like agnostic or what's that other one? Like where they're not dominated by like the religious cult mindset. They can actually investigate it more freely with their mind.
Oh man, the connection is not being kind tonight.
Well, maybe another time then.
I'm sorry. You were saying something good, and then it kind of froze.
Oh, blame it on the CIA.
I'll blame it on the last remnants of Mercury retrograde, but we can pick and choose our three initialed.
I'll blame it on Canada for thesis.
It's one of those three-letter agencies, that's for sure. But thank you so much, Rachel. I'll talk a little bit about what you were talking about, and take it easy, and see you in the chat.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. All right, so I find it's kind of interesting when people talk about that with that sometimes it's a real hard line for people that they're like, no, they're not extraterrestrials, they're not these beings, they're demonic, they're demons, and I think that kind of works against both conversations, and it allows certain things to hide, because I think it's easy to kind of dismiss this stuff and say, oh, it's this, it's not that. But I also want to know, well, how do you definitively know? how do you definitively know it's that and not this? You know, I can see, okay, there's both. I can see, okay, maybe, oh no, this seems more like it's demonic, you know, but maybe it's behaving in a demonic way, but it's not a demon. Hell, there's human beings that behave in demonic ways, and they're not necessarily demons. Maybe they're possessed, who knows? But I think it's really a hindrance to the conversation to say like, oh, definitively this is demonic, this is extraterrestrial, this is this. We can only really observe and then try to come up with, okay, here is what this thing does, this is how it behaves, this is what it looks like, this is, you know, this was the interaction, the experience, you know, and then kind of classify that as such. But to kind of dismiss it or put it into a category definitively, I think is because we just don't 100% know. And if we do 100% know, that's the thing. If there is conclusivity behind it and we can definitively say, then that's really interesting, because they got to come out then with that. They got to come out then with that and say, yes, that's why this is definitively demonic. And that's why this is extraterrestrial, or maybe there is no extraterrestrial, there is no whatever. It's all, at that point, you're talking about interdimensional, you're talking about maybe even transdimensional, you're talking about various things that don't have to do with other beings on another planet, but are things that are from outside of our realm of reality as we know it. And that's where you get like the interdimensional kind of quality to it, or extra dimensional at that point too. So it's interesting to have that topic to lead off with, because this fella's kind of got a book that's sort of like that. What's up, James?
Hey, what's going on, Pete? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not in my usual spot. This is my usual drawing spot. So I
Oh,
didn't know
okay. I thought you were like on the road or something in like a
No,
hotel.
no, no. This is the other one is my presenting spot. This is my
Ah,
drawing spot. I just
very
sit in the
nice.
corner of my house. So sorry about that. I'm on my phone. So no, I think the UFO conversation is interesting, and I had listened to a podcast. I don't know if you are familiar with Patrick the David, Pat the David, but Valuetainment. Anyways, he has a pretty popular YouTube channel, and he interviews a lot of people, and he's like a Joe Rogan kind of guy, and interviews a lot of people and just kind of lets them uh, kind of talk, and he's interested in the conversations that they have. But the guy's name is Stephen Greer, and he has all kinds of
Oh yeah, I
uh,
know about Stephen Greer. Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. He has such interesting explanations for all these things that you say. Like, how can you be sure? Like, he talks like he's 100% sure. He says there's aliens. There's all kinds of different kinds of aliens. So,
Yeah, he does
most
like
of them are
CE5
nice.
events. That's Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where you make contact with the alien, you know, that kind of a thing, and it's a lot of stuff like that. And he was a doctor, but he got involved with all of the UFO alien stuff like decades ago,
Right,
and they were
right,
pushing for disclosure. Uh, Oddly enough, just a few months before 9/11 happened, they had a massive disclosure conference in like May of 2001, and they were making headway and basically looking into Pentagon expenditures
right.
in
Yep,
regards to that. And
that's what
then,
he. Yep, that's what he was talking about on this podcast. Like the people, like there's information, but it doesn't get out there because the people who have um, you know, have power, have means, uh,
yeah,
stop you from getting it out there. And they either buy it, they try to buy the information from you. You know, if you create something, if you hack like Tesla did, you know, like Tesla had all these great ideas or whatever, and you can get free energy. You know, the Earth is you know, all you have to do is tap into the Earth, and you can get free energy. And he was telling that to J.P. Morgan or whoever his his venture capitalist was, and he said, "Well, we can't have that, because I make
Yeah,
money
you got to
off of
put
this
a
stuff."
meter on it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they, that's gone, and so anybody who is smart enough to tap into the free energy that we have, they either their patents get bought out or taken out by the government. The government has a legal whatever that they can go in and just take your patent,
Yeah, they've had
and
like a patent on an engine that was created a while ago, like decades ago, that gets like 100 miles to the gallon.
on water.
And
Like there's
yeah,
stuff on water. You
and
can
yeah, they
drive
bought
on
out
water.
that
You can do
patent just to
hydrogen.
squash it.
Yep. So it gets
Yeah.
squashed. It gets bought out or whatever. So all that technology, like flying cars, flying stuff, and the stuff, the UFOs that people see, he says is a combination of aliens who are he says they're benevolent or whatever. But then
Yeah,
there's
he's big into the fact that like they're all like the very advanced alien races that would contact us are all benevolent, are all helpful.
right.
So yeah, he's like super into that aspect of it. Like he's not even acknowledging that there's any of them that are bad on any level. But I like listening to all the different viewpoints because like there's some of the stuff that he says that's really fascinating, that is interesting, that especially this stuff that, there's one thing when he says certain things and I'm like, okay, well, I can't really prove or disprove what he's saying about that.
Right.
But then
Right.
there's other things when he brings it up, it's like regardless of whether or not aliens are even part of the conversation, it's still like, well, why are all these things happening? Why is there so much secrecy?
Yeah.
What's being covered up constantly? So there's a lot of different weird things that he'll bring up, like, and he'll talk about, a lot of military spending, a lot of stuff that goes through like Lockheed Martin. I don't know if you're familiar with like that Tic Tac UFO thing that,
Yep.
that's making the rounds all over the place. And he's like, no, that's not. Yeah, like I've seen him say that like flat out that that's not extraterrestrial, that's ours.
Yeah.
And
so that's that. I have a weird story. I have friends who do that kind of work here, and I was just in polite conversation, just saying, "Hey, what do you think of that UFO, the Tic Tac stuff?" And the guy looked at me and he goes, "That's us. We do that. We develop the technology to fool the enemy on radar, and we can move things around on radar just to mess with our enemies so they don't know what we're doing. That's what we do right here." I know the guy who helps do that stuff. So like how big it blows up and how big a deal it becomes. They're like, it's not a big deal. It's not extraterrestrial. That's what we do.
And that these are like the equivalent of a very advanced RC car where they're being like there's like a drone where they're being controlled. They're unmanned. And that's why they can do the maneuvers they do. That would basically kill a human being if they were inside.
Right.
But yeah,
so the pilots describe them as extraterrestrial, but it's just because their readings on their whatever measure their scope, their computers and stuff.
Yeah, and that's an important distinction too, is because there's a lot of UFOs, but the vast majority, I mean, you can't prove if a UFO is extraterrestrial or not. So all you can prove is that you don't know what the hell that is. So that's why it's unidentified. Then they switched over the nomenclature. Now it's UAP, unidentified. First it was unidentified aerial phenomena. Now it's unidentified anomalous phenomena. Yeah. Like they keep moving the goalpost a bit to muddy the waters on searching and definitions and all that, because then all of a sudden like NASA comes out afterwards like, we don't have any information about UAPs. Yeah. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Because they're calling it something else, right?
Yeah.
They're calling it something else, and they can legally say,
they're like, oh, UFOs, that's like the wackadoo topic, UFOs. It's like, it's such a wackadoo topic. You guys spent like, trillions of dollars over the decades combined into this crazy nonsense topic, with a lot of stuff getting declassified over the years too, and then they have the nerve to be like, oh, well, we don't really have much information on these subjects, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And this is what they do like
sure.
publicly. So like
Right.
Lord knows what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like they're publicly comfortable with just being like, "Huh? What's that? Never heard of it." It's like, never heard. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, and they'll just keep saying that, and then you're like, or like, it just wastes everybody's time because you know that they're not going to move away from that
Yeah.
talking point or how that response or whatever.
Exactly. It's as old as forever with this stuff. It's that policy of denial, you know. And now they
For
can't
sure.
really deny it anymore, so they can change up the language to then be like, well, we're not really denying it. We're just being like, well, we don't know about this. This is so new.
Yeah, yeah, which is total BS, and you know it. We all know.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. And then it makes you think, okay, you're very comfortable lying right to our face about this.
Mhm.
What the hell else now are you lying about?
Yeah.
You know?
That's why I don't trust anything. You know, you just deal with the people that you deal with, and you deal with the facts that you know, and
Yeah,
everything else
'cause-
goes into like a maybe box. And you go, all right,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah, because I get, you know, we got to keep secrets on certain things for not just
Yeah.
national security, but the security of people that are involved with certain things. I get that. But there's no reason that we have to keep lying about things that happened decades ago,
Yeah.
unless it's because there's still
and
ramifications
they're still doing it. That's
to
why.
today. Exactly.
You know, like who killed JFK, and Trump says that he's gonna put the information out, and then all of a sudden
Everything they're
Yeah.
saying, I'm like, oh man, it's one of those
It
like,
gets stopped.
ooh, you should
It
just
gets
kind
stopped.
of
Like,
keep
why?
that on the DL.
yeah,
Keep that on the
What in the
DL
world?
till you're in there and you got him, red-handed with the, that, because announcing all that stuff, I'm like, man,
they got to get the
oh,
brownie
boy.
points though. They got to get the momentum going. You know, they got to make the promises.
Because
so
you
that when
don't want
they
to
get in there-
telegraph it, though. You don't want to telegraph that, because
Yeah.
as soon as you start telegraphing that, because I agree, that's great. That'd be cool to come out,
Yeah.
But it's one of those things of like, as soon as you start saying like, and we're gonna find out this and that and declassify that and blah blah blah, well now you got like how many months, and that's if they're able to do that, they're able to kind of move all that, to get rid of it, do whatever they got to do
Yeah.
within the span of days.
Yeah,
No, don't give them
Yeah.
a heads up. Just like when
Yeah.
you're in there, just go do it.
they're putting it on like some kind of kill switch right now. If Trump wins,
Yeah.
he gets in, he gets the power. They're like, boop, hit that button, boop, gone.
Yeah.
You're never gonna know. Whatever. If you believe that stuff, even if you like, if you believe that we're electing a president, you can get
Yeah.
all into conspiracies.
And tons of people go
they're
like,
all
well,
playing
okay,
their parts or whatever.
exactly. And lots of people have gone and said, well, there's government incompetence, there's this or that, whatever. Oh, they can't keep a secret about anything.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, they can't keep a secret about anything. Well, that's the whole instance of what they want you to believe. They managed to keep a lot of things secret. They managed to keep the Manhattan Project secret, even though it had tens of thousands of people involved.
Yeah.
They managed to keep a lot of different secrets about a lot of
Yeah.
different things. Maybe they don't
But-
keep them for forever, but they
Yeah.
keep them for as long as it takes to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
And so, and it's easy to say, like, it's such a good cover up right there in and of itself to be like, oh, they can't keep a secret. Oh, it's incompetence, and you go, oh, it's just that. Okay, well, and then you automatically go and you believe that, because if you don't go and believe that, well, then you're labeled, oh, you're a crazy, loony, tinfoil hat person and that kind of thing. Which, if anything, the CIA cooked up that whole term of conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, that's the conspiracy theory of the word conspiracy theory, right? The phrase.
Exactly. Yeah. Specifically to handle people who were looking into the JFK
Exactly.
assassination.
Easily dismissible. It sounds smart enough. Boom.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But no,
Let's see,
on the more spiritual side, there are the Nephilim stuff, and I don't know if you want to get into that. If you have
Oh yeah,
other
yeah.
people
Just
with
give me 1 second. Can you stay with me for a little bit longer?
sure. Yeah.
Okay. What Geeks Do says, any shows out there like Coast to Coast? I miss it. Is it still around? And if so, any good? Coast to Coast is still around. George Norrie's doing Coast to Coast now. Not as good as it was with Art Bell, but sometimes they tackle some interesting stuff. Sometimes I'm like, what the hell are you guys talking about? But that's only because like I'm trying to get a lot of different angles with a lot of different things, and some of it, like we were just talking about with Stephen Greer, some of it I'm like, yeah, that's really fascinating. That's a great point. I believe that, yeah, that makes total sense. His big thing is the reason that there's a cover up is because of the fact that if it were to get out, it completely changes the paradigm of wealth and power within the entire world, because it all hinders upon energy and who controls energy. And if you could manage to say, hey, look, there's 0 point energy, anti-grav, all these types of things, we don't have to cook up climate change, industries. We don't have to constantly go to war for various energy resources. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. You change the paradigm completely, and a lot of people who are completely controlling the planet at this point because of the use of energy and those resources, they would lose that control and that power. So that's essentially like where Stephen Greer comes from, where that's the reason why a lot of that stuff is getting buried. But then there's other people out there that talk about certain things, and they mention this kind of stuff and the cover-ups and whatever, the life forms. And there's USOs also, which are the submerged the vehicles where they're from the water, so they're kind of here already. There's underground. These are all like terrestrial based, like on Earth, but these were advanced races that maybe at one point in time they were outside of Earth, but now they've been here for a very long time and have been kind of working with humanity side by side, or sometimes working against humanity, but humanity has no choice other than to do what they want them to do. And it can really start sounding like an interesting comic book type plot, which is why I like to talk about this stuff on comic book radio. But that's the part where I like seeing what everyone is saying and guessing with this stuff. But what geeks do, yeah, there's coast to coast. There's a bunch of different shows and whatnot that are like that, and a bunch of different YouTubes too. What Geeks Do says, anyone who has invented free energy or cars that don't run on petroleum winds up deceased. Yeah, like you were talking about, the guy that invented the car that runs on water just mysteriously died, like made no sense. It's interesting. Even when they were first coming out with the electric car, that was instantly poo-pooed, and that patent was squashed.
Shelved. Yeah, that was shelved. They bought the patent and shelved it.
Yeah, and that was a way more efficient electric car than what we currently have now, which is basically like, let's take the regular car, but make it so much worse to create. Oh, okay. And then we can sell it as like zero emissions
and all that stuff. Oh.
Yeah, but zero emissions, other than, how we created it, which involved a megaton of emissions. But it was zero emissions once you drive this thing. Iodine says it's putting a target on your back as well. Yeah. Comics for Life says, what's your take on whistleblower David? Is it David or is it Chris Grush? I can't. I think it's. Let me see. Grush, because I know the last name is Grush. Is it? It's David. Okay, yeah, it is David Grush. All right. He looks like a Chris to me. I don't know why. David Grush is. I know there's a lot of people I respect in the UFO community that talk about David Grush, in a very positive way. One of them being Richard Dolan. And I respect a lot of the stuff Richard Dolan has to talk about. He's very even keel, I find, with a lot of his discussion. But there's something about Grush that I just can't put my finger on, but I just don't trust what he's saying. Like, I feel like he's a plant. Like he's in there to whistleblow on purpose, to deflect and distract. Like, I feel like what he's saying, there's some truth to it. But what he's saying also, there's stuff that just, talk about giving them time, right? So when he was doing the congressional hearing and everything, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll give you the list of the names of the places. As soon as he said that, I'm like, oh, well, they're not going to be there no more. They're going to move that. Like, you just gave him like the wink, wink. I'll give you the names, wink, wink, all the places that, and you can give them different places that maybe there's a little bit that was there. Maybe there's nothing that's there. If everything is just, okay, his word, but there's no actual hard evidence and proof, like he didn't snap any pictures, he didn't take any documents, he didn't get any kind of like recordings, like a little soundbite of like, hey, General, there's how's the aliens today? Anything. It's just all I heard someone say some stuff, because he didn't actually see anything either. So there's a part of me that doesn't really trust David Grush with what his whistleblowing has been. So now going back a bit to the demonic and the Nephilim and things like that. What's your take on all of that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's podcasts out there that specifically deal with it, that I enjoy, because they do come from a Christian perspective, and they take a look at passages of the Bible that aren't preached on a Sunday, because they're like who knows, and nobody wants to do the research to get into it, and it does hinge on a lot of the Book of Enoch and like a lot of non-canonical non-canon scripture and stuff. Non-canonical. I hate that I can't.
Canonical. It sounds right though.
Yeah,
because it's canon.
Like, yeah, it's canon. There's a smart word for it that is escaping me, but like it's outside of what is like what traditional theologists or like normies would accept, but it's accepted. It's like not disproven, and it's proven because
it's just
people from the Bible
how it was
referenced it. Yeah. Those are their reference books, and just because we don't accept it because we don't have the proof doesn't mean that they didn't believe it and that they weren't using it to understand what they were,
or that they didn't have the proof and it got destroyed over time.
Yeah, or it's being held from us. Like the proof is out there, and they squash it, like the Vatican Library. Like you see in these movies, it's like super secret. Nobody's allowed in there. Like, what does it hold? That kind of stuff. Like the information exists, and the right people, the people who benefit from it being secret, keep it secret for a reason. And so we don't know the real history, why these giants are there or whatever. But they do refer to these giants in the Bible, and why do we not explore it? Because the information is inclusive or whatever.
Well, because it's obvious at this point too, like the chain of evidence was broken a long time ago.
Sure.
There's so much that even occurred within. Just if we just talk specifically about the Catholic Church, there's so much that occurred throughout various points of time where you had someone corrupt come in and manipulate and use the church and invert the doctrine. You had people who basically at some point came in at various different points that you would look at that and go, they seem to be indistinguishable from a Satanist.
Yeah.
That there was so much inversion done on the principles of all of it. And then as soon as you accrue the power, as soon as you get all that control, you start going like, well, people can't know about this. We got to bury that. And certain things, we got to flat out destroy it. So, and that's happened with a lot of things over the course of civilization. So it's when it turns into like, oh, well, where is this? Where is that? It's like, well, not everything just stands the test of time completely, but there's so much in terms of these stories, in terms of it's ingrained in the culture and in the mythos that it's like that's what this is, and it's near impossible to squash that out, but you can probably squash out the hard proof and evidence of those things being there, and then just say, oh, the rest of it, those were stories, those are myth. That's legend, that's folklore, that's, it's just make 'em up stuff that people did. It's not true. And then you got to go, well, okay, well, if that's not true, what else isn't true in that text that's supposed to be full of truth? Not like open for interpretation. That's not how you're supposed to necessarily view. You're supposed to take it as like a historical text.
Yeah.
Among all the other historical texts of that kind.
Yeah.
And they all sort of describe and talk about the same things. Yet, meanwhile, we're supposed to sit there and go, oh, it was all just everyone had the same story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or they use the same phraseology to describe something. Like we might not understand that now. It's out of context now. But if you can discover what that context was, you can start to apply that phraseology to every time it's used, and people all of a sudden stop using that kind of mindset when it's inconvenient. It doesn't.
We see that happen now.
How we understand, of course, yeah. And they changed the wording on purpose, like you said, with the UFOs and the IEPs or whatever else. They just change it just a little bit so that they can deny that they know anything about what a UFO is, or that IEP, or that whatever IUP. I'm not as familiar with
just
UFO
UAP.
Stuff. UAP and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, that terminology was new to me when they did those congressional hearings and stuff.
Well, I mean,
we're not
another
calling them UFOs anymore?
Yeah. Well, the funniest part is the person who just so happened to say it and introduced the nomenclature of UAP was Hillary Clinton on a talk show, a late-night talk show. Just so happened to talk about UAP. Oh, that's what they call them now, she goes. You know, and we're not hearing it from a scientist. We're not hearing it from someone at NASA. Yeah. We're not hearing it from someone who's doing research on this stuff. We're not hearing it from someone who's dealing with aeronautics or dealing with, either the Navy with the USOs or with UFOs with the Air Force or anything. We're not hearing from anyone that would actually. We're hearing it from a politician as they're running for office, talking about how she was going to push disclosure for UAPs. I was like, that is interesting. That's the person who breaks the word.
No, but that's how we as people accept information, right? We don't necessarily take it from an expert because we don't know that expert. It's just whoever's trusted. And if you're blasted on television everywhere, you're everywhere, and you can put sentences together in a meaningful way, then people just accept you as a smart person and a trustworthy person. And you can say anything, and people believe it. And the politicians have perfected it, and the media has perfected it. And they tell you what to think, they tell you what to say, and you just repeat what they say because they sound smart. UAPs, or instead of UFOs are so passé.
Exactly.
You got to say UAPs. Oh, you don't know? You don't know, stupid?
Yeah. 100%. Iodine says, I don't trust Grush either. He did an interview before he did the testimony and definitely had some contradictions. Yeah, I agree. He just, I hate to say it like this too, but when he was doing the testimony, when he was not the testimony in Congress, but when he was first whistleblowing, I was like, I don't trust the look of this guy. Like, I was just looking at him as he was talking, and I'm like, just the body
eager,
language.
Right?
He's too eager. He was too giddy. Like there wasn't any seriousness. Like, there should be kind of a somberness.
Yeah, like I can repeat it over and over.
They should have coached him a bit better. They should have got a better actor for the part. And I don't know if it's like that's the idea behind, like, well, if he does what you'd expect him, then people might think he is like an actor. So, like, act like you're not an actor. If that was the advice. And he's like, all right. So I'm just going to come across like a little kid that discovered Free Bazooka Joe's in the couch. Yeah. And it's like, dude, you're talking about like the craziest thing in human history.
Right.
And like the cover up that it's involving. And the way that he was talking about it was, I don't know if he did like 5 Red Bulls that day. I don't know if, like, again, I don't know if he was coached to just like, dude, when you talk, just kind of calm down about this subject. Talk about it in a way that expresses that there's seriousness to this, and stop.
He's the only
doing
one who could get it out. He could regurgitate it. He answered. He could.
That's what it seems
all
like.
The questions.
I guess. Yeah. And it was just something about him. Like, I just don't trust this guy. I just don't trust him.
Yeah.
Comics Exposed says, "Where's Velez?" So I guess Les is sick. He's been sick all day, and he completely forgot about the interview. His interview manager got in touch with me during the show just a few minutes ago and said that we're going to reschedule and that Les is really, really sorry. So hopefully we'll schedule. This will be for the third time. I had to cancel on him the first time, which was a couple weeks ago, but this time was supposed to be a time that worked for him. Hopefully we can find another time, probably sometime in mid-September or so at this point, and we can get him back on the show because I'm really interested in having that conversation with him. Rachel says, let's face it, Hillary would have buried that evidence along with her own corruption. Every one of them that's like, and they all telegraph it. It's like that level of, and that's why I don't like that. Like, as much as I like hearing it, I don't like that it was said about, we're going to get to the bottom of the assassinations and the JFK and the this and the that, because I'm like, man, that just, to me, that just leaves it wide open for it not just to get hidden, but for also, oh, well, looks like we didn't find anything. And it's like, well, of course, you announced you were going to do it. Like, these aren't just like, simple things of like, we're going to see about this common sense normal thing that there's no levels of decades of secrecy behind them. And, this is a big thing that's full of that. So if you start telegraphing that and saying that, I'm like, why would you do that, man? Why would you do that? That's like a little tick off of the, like, are you doing that because you're doing the friggin' thing they all do? Or are you doing that because you're giving somebody a heads up? Or are you doing that because you don't know that, like, that's what they're going to do? And, like, I don't know which one worries me more.
The Stephen Greer interview with Pat David, Stephen Greer was saying that the UFO subject was like the number one off limits to anybody in political power, that, like, you start
especially
asking too many
president.
questions. Yeah. So he said, he said that especially with Bill Clinton wanted to know more about it, and they said, we'll kill everybody or something like that. There was a big threat against everything. Like,
there's that famous story with Jimmy Carter, who was talking about how he had seen a UFO, and then when he got into office and as he was running, was saying that he was going to look into the subject, and that allegedly he was briefed on it, and the person who came in saw Carter sobbing and weeping at the information that he had found out. So who the hell knows? But the thing is also just, president is the most transient spot in the government. You can have like a small town mayor who's served longer than the president has in their position.
Yeah. Or the mayor's secretary, been there for 50 years.
Yeah.
Who knows everybody, who knows how everything works. That what the mayor comes in, she says, here, this is what you do, and then this is what he does.
Yeah, so they're not going to give that stuff to the president, who could serve 4 years at the most, maybe 8.
Right.
Because there's no president, as far as my knowledge goes, where they were president and then they went to being like a governor or a senator. Is that even allowed?
It is, and there is. I think there was a Supreme Court justice who stepped down and went back. I don't know. There's somebody who stepped down.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a president that ever, like, once they were done, they went to be like a senator or a congressman or a governor. Or, still working.
There was a governor. The guy from Florida was a governor, and then he became a senator.
Oh no! I mean more like they were president.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we've ever had a president and then they, I think it's like, if anything, I just see president and then they turn into a celebrity. Like, that's what I see with president, at least in my lifetime. Turn into a celebrity and they push whatever agenda, the money allows. But as far as like being still a servant to the people, if they ever were one to begin with, I don't ever see them do that. I've never seen, I don't know of in our history, especially modern history, I don't think, where there's been a president and then they go, I'll run for governor. Be president governor. Why not?
Not in modern times. I don't think I've ever seen that. For sure. Yeah, not in modern times for sure.
Yeah, like, so usually they're out. You know, they're president, and then that's it. And then,
Yeah.
you know, and so that spot, that's all there is. So you'll get people within Congress who have more information about certain subjects than the president does.
Yep. Yep.
It's baffling.
I don't know. It is. It is.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're a little bit past the hour. I'm gonna wrap it up here. James, thank you so much for joining me tonight with this. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Comics Exposed is all confused. They're like, that's not bad. The list. That's not.
No.
What's this guy doing?
No, it's not. Yeah. But it was a good conversation regardless.
Yeah. No, it's interesting stuff, right? We should question
Absolutely.
everything. Question.
Oh,
everything.
yeah. Keep questioning.
we're being lied
everything.
to.
Keep having these conversations. Even if we don't do them publicly, you don't gotta have big public grandiose conversations or whatever, but keep the home fire burning. You know, keep having the conversations among your friends, among your family, among
Keep that hamster wheel going. You know?
Yeah.
Question it.
Absolutely. And Rachel, I'm not talking about like governor, and then because there's been tons of that. There's been tons of, the governor or senator or this or and becomes president. I'm talking about someone who, like, if Reagan, like, let's say Reagan was president, served 1 or 2 terms, let's say, and then stepped back into running for governor again. I've never seen an instance where a president has then gone to Senate, Congress, governor, whatever, any kind of public office. It's usually just like, no, you were president. Don't worry, you're set. You got your pension thing the rest of your life. You enjoy being a celebrity now. You know, everything is covered for you. You don't do anything anymore publicly, at the very least. I've never, if someone does know, if someone's watching the show later, you want to leave a comment about that. If you do know of a president who then went to serve, even if it was 200 years ago, I'm curious to know. But in modern times, I don't think we've ever had a president in this past 100 years, at the very least, who served as president and then served at a lower office. And I honestly don't know if that's even allowed, let alone been done. So anyway, thank you so much, James. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys too. Appreciate it. And we'll be back again. I'll be back here tomorrow night with an open mic show at 9:00. Maybe James will be back too. Who knows? You can.
Maybe I got a campaign coming up. I'm gonna pay Bam Bam.
There you go. Yeah, so maybe we'll see James again for a few minutes. But yeah, we'll have an open mic tomorrow. Any comic related projects, come on the show. You get a few minutes to promote them, talk about them. And hopefully we get a bunch of people tomorrow night. So thank you guys so much for being here with me tonight, even though Les had to, he was under the weather and had to cancel whether or not he knew he did or not. We'll get him rescheduled on the show in the future. And I hope I see you guys tomorrow night. So James, I'm going to let you go, buddy. Have a great night.
Yep. Thanks for talking to me.
No problem, man. See you soon. All right, and everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much. Let's see. Al says James was right. There was a president who then became a Supreme Court justice. Which president was that? Can you let me know? I'm going to look that up either way. But thank you guys so much. We'll be back again tomorrow night. Until then, everybody have a wonderful night and an even better tomorrow. I'll see you guys soon. All the best.